What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. Hey, guys, every shred of information we put on this channel is brought to you by a couple products right now. The Cortex Stack. I mean, look, Cortex Stack was a stack that I formulated many years ago for myself first. Over modafinil, by the way, worked better for me. It should just function for like a good bit of my day running a technology company. Motivation, mental energy, verbal fluency, the will to work in a stack. 2 pills is the serving size. Cortex right now is 30% off using the coupon code 30 at Livecortexcom. A better deal on Cortex is the Cortex Double Stack, which gets you 2 bottles of Cortex, but each of them is $24. You get them for $24 each. No coupon codes there. Just go find the Cortex Double Stack at Livecortexcom. Look, if you're in need of taking your nootropics usage and most importantly results to the 6-year mark, that is defined as the master class. I mean, look, people stack differently and get different results at the master class. Go get the Nootropics master class. It's a video course teaching you how to do that. And it's me in the video course. And it's freaking epic. People love it right now. $55 even. No coupon codes. Cheapest it's ever been, Livecortex.com. If you're new to nootropics, and you want to get yourself to the 3-year mark, which is a great start in saving time, money, powder, and getting better results, get the Nootropics Ground Zero video course. It's a course that I created for people that are new. If you're brand new, there's certain things that you have to, like you've got to approach nootropics in a very particular way. A lot of stuff has to be cleared up. We do that in Nootropics Ground Zero. That is 30% off using the coupon code 30 Livecortex.com. If you're a guy and need to raise testosterone, look, I tried every freaking protocol known to man out there, and they marginally helped. Some of them didn't help, and I paid money for a lot of them, and they sort of sucked. I created my own for my own purposes, tested on a bunch of men, and then launched it as a product. It's called the Viking Testosterone Protocol, and you can find that at Livecortex.com. Also 30% off. Last thing, if you need my help on large-scale, extreme cognitive optimization to make your brain function at high levels, elite levels, we've got consults for that. Either the 1-month intensive, the 3.5-month intensive, or the 6-month intensive. These are all biohacking, results-driven, frequent communication, lots of experiments, lots of optimization, hands-on biohacking consults. Get them at Livecortex.com. Post-SSRI sexual dysfunction also applies to the 3.5-month and the 6-month situation. It's something Cortex Labs and I are at the forefront of. If there's any question about what applies to you on those consults, Ryan at Livecortex.com. So I want to talk about just a small kind of study that I did on racetams, and in the end, which racetams people ultimately respond better to. Now, I've done some studies like this on phenylpiracetam for mood, and it was determined in my sort of small study. And I try to control for things as much as possible. You know, this isn't a lab, so it has its limitations. But in that study, we concluded that phenylpiracetam of all racetams has the best mood lifting ability. But so what I wanted to do in this one is basically just see which of all the 7 major racetams, so all the known racetams with the exception of nefaracetam, which I don't mess with and don't suggest people mess with, gives people the best results, okay? Just in terms of general cognition. I just wanted to see what the results were and where the consistencies were. So I have some pretty interesting data on that experiment that I want to run by you guys, okay? Number one, I think it's important to set up some of the conditions. All of these people had pretty good energy baseline, so there wasn't any sort of insulin issue, there wasn't an electrolyte issue, there wasn't a glucose metabolism issue, no metabolic disorders. None of that stuff was present in these people. These are people that I've been working with on a longer term basis for cognitive enhancement, and this is the data that I extracted. I think the second part of the setup of it is that each of these participants, there's 30 participants, had a choline source in the mix when trying to figure out which racetam helped them the most. And that choline source was CDP choline at an even 55 milligrams. Okay, that's what I mean by I'm trying to control this as much as possible or have controls in place. So they all had choline sources, but they had CDP choline in at a very low dose. And you guys understand my logic for that. Too much is too much. You got to have a sort of modest dose. Now, some of them could have responded to higher dose CDP choline, where I just wanted to keep it uniformed across the board. Okay, so out of piracetam, aniracetam, oxiracetam, phenylpiracetam, coliracetam, fasiracetam, and primiracetam, out of 30 participants in this study, with all these 7 racetams, 19 people responded best to Aniracetam. Aniracetam. Now, I've frequently over the years talked about how awesome that compound is and how it's useful to put in kind of like a daily supplement regimen at 500 to 700 milligrams, like with a B complex and maybe some vitamin D, perhaps a multivitamin if you respond well to it. And how having it in the mix like that seems to make it more of a sustainable compound in terms of cycling. So if you have it in the morning regimen at pretty low doses or a moderate medium dose with some other cofactors that help it work better, you don't need to cycle it as much. And it maintains a good background pro-cognitive effect. Specifically in this study, right? This we'll call it a study. Again, I couldn't control for certain things, and it's scientific, but certainly not in a lab. So again, it has its limitations. Out of 30 people, 19 people responded best to Aniracetam, and the benefits were uniformly better working memory, so functional working memory, doing largely computer-related tasks or work-related. It was all work-related tasks, but computer-related stuff where they're having to input information, hold information in their brain, later be able to recall that information, generally kind of synthesize information, and then an enhancement in general cognitive processing. So that means speed of processing, ability to compartmentalize, ability to sort of keep the brain focused on certain tasks at a time. A lot of these people also reported just sort of a general increase in drive to do work, and that I think is modulated or I think that's attributable to both the cholinergic side of Aniracetam, the extra release of acetylcholine from the hippocampus, but also the glutamate subtype receptor, the AMPA receptor side, which is LTP formation, as well as pro-memory benefits, okay? The uniform dose in this study on Aniracetam was 600 milligrams, okay? I forgot to include that before, but that's a critical part of it, 600 milligrams. Usually the suggested dose is 700 to 1,000 milligrams. Not everyone responds to that. But again, in the interest of sort of keeping things good and keeping the response somewhat the same and not taking it over and not causing some sort of extra stimulation response from too much cholinergic release, we kept it that low. Interestingly, the second best, which I guess is sort of aligns with one of the previous sort of studies that I did on racetams, was phenylpiracetam. Out of 30 people, 16 people responded really, really well to phenylpiracetam. And best to phenylpiracetam. However, the response was more energy and motivation centric, and not many people out of those 16 reported memory enhancement. Okay, so that's an interesting thing. I'd say the other super interesting thing about it is that the third best racetam, and people like taking all these different racetams, all 7 racetams, to see which one generally gave them a better effect and they responded best to, was Faciracetam, right? You would think maybe oxiracetam or coliracetam or regular piracetam or something. Turns out it was Faciracetam. And the reported response was a better focus and a background calm. Now, that is probably because with Faciracetam, you are enhancing you're diversifying the response on the GABA side. It actually helps you create more GABAergic neurons, potentially upregulating GABA B function. And at the same time, it also does foster an enhanced choline uptake and some acetylcholine activity. So you sort of get both things in one, and that would be why people get a focus and a calm from it. Okay, so to lay it out again, I guess generally what I'm saying is this shows us at a small sample size that you are somewhat more likely to, if you have Aniracetam at a modest dose, 500 to 600 milligrams, with a low dose of CDP choline, again, we used 55 milligrams, you are more likely to respond positively to Aniracetam than any other racetam, considering these conditions. And again, these conditions are that people sleep well, they have good energy baseline, no insulin or blood glucose problems, no glucose metabolism issues in the brain, no electrolyte issues, no major energy baseline issues, okay? My own personal usage of Aniracetam, I guess, kind of varies over the years. Look, I mean, I've used it on attack dosing stacks. I've used it on, like, like major 7 to 8 compound power user stacks. You can find those in the Racetam God Guide and the Nootropics Stacks for the Business Professional. Those are digital books that I wrote on nootropics with a bunch of stacks. But I also have an affinity for using them or using Aniracetam in a morning supplement regimen like we talked about. Every now and then it varies because I just switch between compounds, but sometimes I'll do like a 3 or 4 day stint of just having 500 milligrams of Aniracetam, no choline source, because I'm eating a lot of beef, eating a lot of eggs, just don't seem to need it, in my morning regimen, which is like 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. That's when I wake up, and right away I take a bunch of supplements, vitamin D, maca root, sometimes St. John's wort, licorice root sometimes, to just sort of give a boost on energy as far as cortisol goes, but Aniracetam at 500 NA B complex. And it just sort of gives me a general pro-cognitive, specifically memory and processing benefit for that morning phase when I sit down to do some work and tend to stuff. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Thanks so much for listening. I've got a bunch of these in the pipeline that I have to finish, that I need more time to figure out like what the responses are to certain things. I've got one going on 9-MEBC right now with some of our larger scale consulting clients, so that should be super interesting. Look forward to that. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Remember, Cortex Stack 30% off, coupon code 30, powerful pre-made stack. I mean, if you want in a couple capsules full-on brain energy and brain performance, just go buy Cortex. 30% off using the coupon code 30, Livecortexcom. A better deal on Cortex is the Cortex double stack. It gets you 2 bottles of Cortex, but each of them is $24. So you get them for $24 each. Best deal ever on Cortex, with the exception of the buy one, get one, which will run again in like 3 months or so. Find the double stack, Livecortex.com. If you need to take your nootropics usage and results to the master class, that is defined as the 6-year mark. People get better results at that mark. Trust me. We teach you how in the Nootropics Masterclass. That's a video course that right now is $55 even. Started at $119, just to give you an example of how discounted it is. No coupon code. If you're new to Nootropics Round Zero is where you have to start. That's it. Forget all this other stuff. Just buy that course. It's a video course of me teaching you how to take yourself to the 3-year mark in using nootropics. But importantly, it's from ground zero, from the ground up, from being super brand new, just getting into it all. You got to start there. If you're a guy and you need to race tests, can't say it enough, best program on the web, Viking Testosterone Protocol. 30% off using the coupon code 30. Oh, and by the way, Nootropics Ground Zero is also 30% off, coupon code 30. Last couple things. Listen, if you want to work with me on a very, very consistent, daily, large-scale basis on cognitive optimization, just turning your brain into a powerhouse of productivity and functionality, get either the 1-month intensive, the 3.5-month intensive, or the 6-month intensive. These are intensive cognitive optimization programs that I work with a number of people all around the world, from bankers to entrepreneurs to venture capitalists, really just serious people that need to get serious productivity. Get those at livecortex.com. I am excited to work with people. It is my favorite thing to do, and we get results. It's very results driven. The 3.5-month and the 6-month programs apply to really, really bad syndromes like post-SSRI sexual dysfunction, otherwise known as PSSD. We're at the forefront of that and can resolve it, as well as post-benzo syndrome. You've been taking a benzo for a long time, you're not on it anymore, but your brain is still deranged in terms of anxiety. If there's any question about what applies to you, please email me, Ryan at livecortex.com. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.